Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am Beth and this is Spiral Path Arts, and this is 31 days of Samhain. And we couldn't get through spooky season without a ghost story now, could we? Now, originally, I had the idea that I was going to take you for a walk around my neighborhood and point out some of the different haunted houses in Selma and a little bit about their spooky stories. But then as I started to put that video idea together, I thought, why don't I tell you a ghost story that's a little closer to home? So I am often asked, since the day I bought this house, does that house have a ghost? Is your house haunted? Really, tell me, how haunted is that old house? Ooh, your house looks like a witch's house. I like that one. And I have to say, usually my answer is, well, I haven't experienced anything yet. But I did hear a story from a former owner of this house that one might consider just a little bit spooky. So let me set the scene. This young couple bought this old house in the mid-80s, the 1980s, and they had one daughter at the time, and the house, she needed a lot of love and a lot of restoration, and they set right to work getting her fixed up. They repaired plaster walls, they added a second bathroom, they enclosed the back porch, all with the idea of improving the house for their growing family because, well, it wasn't shortly after they bought the house that they had their second daughter. So they had two young little girls growing up in this house. And, well, they worked very, very hard, restoring the house and doing a lot of work and raising their young daughters. And as a reward, well, they hired a babysitter one night so they could go out with friends. And this babysitter wasn't new to them. They had known her for a while, and she was very trusted and very reliable, and the girls were comfortable with her, and they knew that everything would be fine while they went out for the evening. And the sitter was very happy and very content, and she knew the girls' routine, and it wasn't long after the parents left, and she had made them a little bedtime snack and given them their baths and read them their bedtime stories and tucked them safely away to bed in the front bedroom. I like to think that the bedroom was probably pink then too, but who knows? And the girls quickly fell right to sleep. And the sitter went into the front parlor and made herself comfortable reading a book. She wanted to be in the front parlor where she could be close to the girls' bedroom if either of them woke up and needed her, and she could watch from there for the parents to come home. And it wasn't long after she settled into reading her book that the youngest little girl, who was still an infant at the time, awoke and started to fuss and cry. Well, she didn't want the little girl to wake up her older sister and have two young children to get back to sleep. So she quickly went in to the bedroom and took the baby out of the room and took her down the hallway to the back room. The back room used to be the open back porch, but this couple had recently enclosed it to make it into a small study and had a rocking chair to rock and take care of the baby. So the sitter sat in the rocking chair, and it wasn't long that the baby calmed herself and settled back into sleep. And the sitter was just rocking her and making sure she was completely asleep when she heard a sound. And it sounded like it was coming from the hallway. So she looked up and turned her head to look at the door leading to the hall. And much to her surprise, standing in the hallway was not the child's mother, as she had expected, thinking that the parents had come home from their night out and she hadn't heard the front door because she was busy shushing and singing a lullaby to the infant. No, instead, standing in that doorway was a much older woman with her gray hair pulled severely back into a bun at the nape of her neck and wearing a shawl around her rounded shoulders and just watching as she rocked the infant. Now, the older woman did not look stern or angry or scary at all. More, she looked like a concerned grandmother, just checking to make sure that her grandbaby was okay when she heard it crying. Of course, the sitter was completely confused as to who this woman was and why she was in the hallway, and she looked at her and was just about to say something when she blinked, and in that blink of an eye, the woman disappeared. Well, this startled the young sitter even more, as you can only imagine, and put a bit of a fright in her. So, well, when faced with the option of walking back down that hallway, through the doorway where she had just seen this older woman disappear into thin air to put the baby back to sleep in her crib, she opted to stay right where she was in that rocking chair until the parents came home. And the parents, of course, were a bit confused as to why the sitter was still in the back room with the sleeping infant in her arms. And the sitter relayed her story. And they said, oh, yes, that was probably Mrs. Nunley. And Emma Nunley was the original owner of this house. Her husband, James, built her this house in 1895, where she raised her children and lived very happily here for many years. Now, to my knowledge, Mrs. Nunley did not die in this house, nor did anyone else that I have discovered. So, if that is Mrs. Nunley or one of the other subsequent owners, we may never know. She hasn't made herself known to me. On the other hand, just a week after I moved into this house, my sister came to visit to help me with unpacking and cleaning and painting that middle bedroom and a bunch of other things to get me going in my new house. But I didn't have any place for her to sleep but this couch right here. And a few nights after she had been here, probably second, third night of her visit, the next morning she asked me, Beth, did you get up in the night and go down the hallway into the kitchen, quite late at night? And I said, no, I didn't. I didn't get up at all. We had been working very hard painting that day, and when I went to sleep, I was out. She goes, oh, I swore I woke up and there was someone walking down that hallway, and I thought I heard them go into the kitchen. So maybe Mrs. Nunley came back to check on who was in her house now. But she must have liked what she saw. Two sisters just helping each other out and spending some quality time together. I'll never know. Unless, of course, she visits me sometime this fall.